next 2 points are nothing but standard 5-point formula. And next one is diagonal 5-point formula. So first, if you see standard 5-point formula, it is nothing but what we have seen using the Laplace equation. So first is this. So if you draw one grid, that means if you have the equation and if you divide this graph along x-axis and y-axis with the help of lines, okay, so if you divide this xy plane into some by the help of line into some rectangles, so if you divide this xy plane with the help of lines into some rectangles where the difference between 2 points or these points are known as lattice points or mesh points, and the another name is grid points. So if the difference between the 2 points is delta x, which is along x-axis, and if you denote it by h, and similarly if the difference between two grid points is delta y, which is denoted by k along y-axis. So this is your y-axis, this is your x-axis. So if these are the notations, then we know that by Laplace equation, so we had Laplace equation, so which was uxx plus uyy equals to 0, and after substituting the values of uxx and uyy using the finite approximation values, we had ui comma j equals to 1 upon 4 ui plus 1 comma j plus ui minus 1 comma j plus ui comma j plus 1 plus ui j minus 1. Okay, so this was the equation which we had obtained using Laplace equation and finite approximation, whatever forward difference and backward difference we had defined. So using this we had got this, right? So now if you observe, then how are these points placed? So if you take this, if this is your point ui comma j, then this point will be ui plus 1 comma j, right? This point will be a backward point, which is ui minus 1 comma j. Similarly, this point which is along y-axis will be ui j plus 1. When you go in the negative or the backward direction along y-axis, you have point ui j minus 1. Okay, so if you observe, then the addition is, it is the addition of this 4 points and we are dividing it by 4, so it is nothing but the average of this 4 points. So standard 5-point formula is this, which is nothing but average of this 4 points along x and y direction. Now what is diagonal 5-point formula? So if you observe, then we had this grid, right? So now if you apply some transformation and if you just rotate this grid with the angle of 45 degree, so suppose this is angle, so this is 45, okay, so now you just move the plane by the rotation of 45 degree, then you'll get a new plane. So this was your earlier one. Now after rotation, y-axis will be this one, right? So this y will move towards this, it will tend towards the x-axis, and then this will be your x-axis. So this is your new x-axis, this is your new y-axis. So similarly, the points will move accordingly. So this was the point on y-axis, which was ui j plus 1. This will be a point ui plus 1 comma j. Now this will be a new point, which is ui comma j minus 1. So now this will move towards this, which is ui minus 1 comma j. Now this was the original point. Now it has shifted over here. So after shifting, this value will change to the value according to the original plane. So what is the value according to the original plane? So instead of ui comma j plus 1, you can write over here. So if you see this point, then it is in the upward direction along y-axis, and it is towards forward direction towards x-axis. So it is I plus 1 comma j plus 1. Similarly, if you observe this point, then this is nothing but it is going in forward direction along x-axis, and it is going in backward direction along y-axis. So the new point which has changed will be u I plus 1 comma j minus 1. Okay. Similarly, if you observe this point, then this is along backward direction along x-axis. So this will change to ui minus 1, and with respect to y-axis, it is also again going in negative direction. So it is j minus 1. So now if you observe this point, then this is going in negative direction along x-axis. So it is ui minus 1, and it is going in positive direction with respect to y-axis. So it is j plus 1. So now our new coordinates are ui plus 1 comma j plus 1. Then next one is ui plus 1 comma j minus 1. Next is ui minus 1 comma j minus 1, and the last one is ui minus 1 j plus 1. So as we had seen before, the standard 5-point formula was nothing but the average of this 4 point. Similarly, diagonal 5-point formula will be the average of this new points which we have obtained right now. So this uij, which is equal to 1 upon 4 ui plus 1 comma j minus 1 plus ui minus 1 comma j minus 1 plus ui minus 1 comma j plus 1, and the last one is ui plus 1 comma j plus 1. So average of this 4 point is nothing but diagonal 5-point formula. Okay. So now our next point is solution of the Laplace equation. So if you have a Laplace equation uxx plus uyy, which is equal to 0, and it is a region which is bounded by a boundary C. So if you draw this, so suppose this is your region, okay, and now this is your boundary, that is C, and there are interior points, okay, of the function u. So suppose we denote it by boundary points as C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, C6, C7, C8, C9, C10, C11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, and the interior points as u1, u2, u3, u4, u5, u6, u7, point u9. So if you consider the first point, that is u5, that's the central point, then you can write u5 1, that's the notation, which is equal to, by the diagonal 5-point formula, we have average of. So diagonally we can see that you can take the extreme values, that are C9, C5, C1 and C13. So average of this, so you'll get C1 plus C5 plus C9 plus C13. Okay, so if you consider the central point, you can take the four diagonal points of which are at the extreme. Now if you consider u1, so u1 is your point over here, right? So if you consider u1, then if you consider the extreme diagonal point, then it is c1, and we know that we need to have a equidistant from all the points. So if we take over c1 here, then we need to take the point which is u51. So you have to take average of c1, c3, u51 and u15. So this is c1 plus c3 plus u51 plus c15. Similarly it goes for u3. So u3 is over here, so extreme diagonal point is c5, and you have to maintain the distance, so you have to take c5, c7, then u51 and then c3. So u31 is the average of c3, c5, c7 and the last one is u51. Similarly u71 equals to 1 upon 4 c15 plus c13 plus c11 plus u51, and u9 1 equals to 1 upon 4 c7 plus c9 plus c11 plus u51. Okay, so that is, if you consider this, then you have to take this point, this and this one. Okay, so this 1 2 3 4 5, this 5 are using diagonal 5-point formula. Now we can use the standard 5-point formula. So for this, if you consider this point u2, then for standard you need to have this c3, u51, u31 and u11. So you can write u21, which is equal to 1 upon 4 c3 plus u31 plus u51 plus u11. Okay, so this is for u21. Similarly you can have for u61, which is equal to 1 upon 4 c7 plus u91 plus u51 and what is this, u6. So u6 is over here, so you can take u3, u9, u91, u51, c7 and u31. Okay, and u11 equals to 1 upon 4 c1 plus u71 plus u51 plus u91, and u41 equals to 1 upon 4 into c15 plus u11 plus u51 and u71. So these are using the standard 5-point formula. This way, using this formula, you need to find values of each ui, and to make it more accurate, you have to make use of iterative methods. You can use either of the two iteration methods. So the first one is Jacobi method and the next one is Gauss-Seidel method. Okay, so let's see what are these methods first. First is Jacobi method. For this, if you have uij and n denotes the nth iterative value. Okay, so after iteration, if you want to calculate the nth iterative value of uij, then you have to follow some procedure for the 5-point formula, and that is nothing but ui comma j of n plus 1th iterative value is equal to 1 upon 4 ui minus 1 comma j has which has nth iterative value plus ui plus 1 comma j and nth iterative value of this plus ui comma j minus 1 n plus nth iterative value of ui j plus 1. Okay, so we will see few examples, and from this you will get to know how you can solve by Jacobi method. Now next is our Gauss-Seidel method. So for this you can have the n plus 1 iterative value of uij using the formula 1 upon 4 ui plus 1 n comma j plus ui minus 1 j of n plus 1, that is n plus 1 iterative value of ui minus 1 j plus ui comma j plus 1 n, that is nth iterative value of ui comma j plus 1 plus ui comma j minus 1 n plus 1. So now let's see one example. So first is you have to solve one